I think if you were to look at it in a perspective of Korea as an example of how they've been very open to blockchain technology, I think you're setting the foundation for other countries and cities to follow suit. And when other countries start to see with the developments of this location, what's happened here, the real progress starts to occur, especially in the blockchain world. And if you apply it to any other segment, even in advertising, and what I'm well versed in doing in Canada, before the internet was a fad, they said. It's going to come and go. It's not going to be here for a long time. And it was a luxury 10 years ago to be even thinking about the internet as a business model of marketing and advertising. And now it's a necessity of life. With any country in the world that you go to, every kind of marketing campaign starts with a digital front. And when countries and cities start to open up and give the ability of the average person to dominate that segment and start to really push forward the technologies, is where real growth started to happen and real change started to happen. So I think the same correlation exists with that as does with the blockchain world. When you have cities and populaces and from the government down giving the power to the people to discover and open their minds, that's where real change happens. And I'm very happy to be here in Busan and see that this is occurring in this particular city.
I think good innovations got to carry on, whether it's regulated or not regulated. So I look at this from where I come from, like from Singapore. We have a good blockchain sandbox framework. It worked very well for many different companies. We have a lot of Korean friends that set up their companies in Singapore and has benefited from this sort of a sandbox, unregulated model. So I think in Busan it would be the same, if not it's even better, because Busan is a far bigger zone as compared to Singapore. And just to be honest, when I first came to Busan years ago, I still see Busan as a very good manufacturing place. But right now it has shifted to a lot of new technology, looking at new adoption of like artificial intelligence and so forth. So I think Busan is at the very right place for innovation to kickstart, especially in Korea as a whole. But like a lot of unregulated or trial out model, applied to a lot of different government. At a later stage, I think the regulation got to kick in. Whether it's the cryptocurrency regulations or whether it's the blockchain regulations, somehow all these things got to be regulated at a much later stage. But right now, I think the growing stage, non-regulated, playing within the right framework and rules, I think that is going to make a lot of big differences in the market.
It's progress, and that's what you want to see. And Busan is the forerunner of that, and Andy is right. You have to have regulations to a certain respect, so that there's no cowboys in this space. So there's both extremes. One to give freedom, and also one to regulate so that the cowboys of the world, are at bay and not taking over.
앤드류 같은 경우는 이제 캐나다에서 사업을 하고 있는데 그쪽에 이제 광고 쪽에서도 이제 그 레귤레이션이 있었는데 그 블록체인 마찬가지로 이게 그러니까 정부 입장에서 이 레귤레이션 풀어주면 굉장히 긍정적으로 보고 있고요. 그다음에 앤드류 같은 경우도 싱가포르에서는 보다 이제 부산이 더 그 제조업으로서 더 많은 기반이 있고 그걸 이제 더 하이테크놀로지로 적용하는 것으로서 굉장히 긍정적으로 보고 있다고 일단 줄여서 말씀드리겠습니다. Second question. While it has been argued that Bitcoin and blockchain have struggled to find a niche and a killer application, Ethereum, as a programmable blockchain, could be setting into its new role as a chain for finance. Through the growth of DeFi, what do you guys think about future finance? Finance, yeah.
어떤 질문 하세요?
지금 일단 그 이더리움이라는 걸 가지고 이제 그 더 탈분산형, 탈중화된 이제 디파이가 디센트럴라이즈 파이낸스의 약자입니다. 그래서 그 금융 쪽으로 확대되고 있는데요. 거기에 대해서 앞으로의 금융은 이제 어떻게 생각하는지에 대해서 여쭤봤습니다.
First of all, you know, sometimes there's a lot of comparison between Bitcoin and blockchain. So it really depends on which side you're on, you know. So if you buy Bitcoin, most likely you are earning money, right, from the 10,000 and ups and so forth. But if you are doing blockchain, most of us are losing money because we are innovators, right? So when you talk about DeFi and things like that, again, you know, the different chain like what Ethereum Killer and all these things, these are all untrue. You know, we have friends from CoinFlux or somewhere, you know, CoinFlux. We have other chains that are in the market right now that are pushing very hard, you know, to be maybe Ethereum Killer. But I think everybody has a good chance. Coming back to the topic on DeFi, you know, I think that market itself, decentralized finance, has a good potential, you know, but that good potential should be well taken care of and well regulated. Companies are taking advantage of the word DeFi and come out with a lot of different forms of products that are not exactly very viable. So I just hope that a lot of us, you know, practitioners and people who believe in the word blockchain or in the word DeFi, we have to really look at profitable models that can help all the companies out there and not just looking at scams. So there are too many scams in the market right now where they look at raising a lot of funds and not doing anything. DeFi is actually one of the key words right now in the market where they use DeFi as a form of fundraising tool, and the fundraise will never be materialized because you have a lot of things to tackle, you know, from custodianship of the coins, of the fiat money, to a proper KYC that we talk about, you know. So right now the KYC has a big loophole as well, you know, just a picture and a video. So all these things got to improve before we really look at DeFi. So investors like ourselves, you know, we have to really look at things that are more viable, you know, more practical, and not just going for the keywords and invest blindly. So that's just my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, to add to that, you're absolutely right, Andy. In the DeFi world, as you were mentioning, I think you have to protect the investors, and people go into this world expecting the glory story of a Bitcoin event happening over and over again. Meanwhile, that's 1 in a million. So I think when it comes to finances in the blockchain world, there is a big separation in the two. It is one of investment in technology and one of gains. And I think the sooner we get to protect investors in what they're very excited to do and to give them the right knowledge and understanding, the safer and more exciting the field becomes for the masses. And I think if you were to look at it 3-4 years ago, where the gangbuster days of excitement was really high, and to the reality of what it is today, where it's diminished, whereby there's so many scams going on, and people are not confident in the investment dollars going forward and actually coming to fruition with a product. Once that's established and there's rules and regulations behind that, I think the whole atmosphere of where we're at right now will change dramatically.
일단 두 분 다 비트코인으로 많이 이제 보셨겠지만 다른 이제 스캠이나 이런 이제 토큰들 때문에 많이 이제 잃은 사람들도 있는데 그게 이제 정부 쪽이나 이제 규제를 통해서 많이 이제 지금은 많이 사라진 상태고, 그다음에 앞으로는 좀 더 그 현실적이고 좀 더 이제 실생활에 적응 가능한 그런 부분들을 통해서 앞으로 확장될 것이라고 전망을 해주겠습니다. Okay. Your last question. Stablecoins are starting to gain prominence in the crypto universe, right? And also raise the possibility of central bank digital currencies. So, what is your opinion about the cryptocurrency with blockchain?
That's a good question. So my opinion is, in order to become mainstream, so that the masses start to actually consume this product and transact it, there has to be viable companies that are willing to accept it. When it becomes a commodity where it's accepted for trade for a product or a service, whereby value is gained, I think that's where that particular currency will increase in value. But I think the market right now, you have to be able to use it as many places as you can via fiat currency. So once that becomes mainstream and a lot more vendors are accepting it and merchants are accepting that form of currency around the world, that's where the gamification aspect of it will take over, whereby people start utilizing it, gain benefits, get excited about it, tell their friends, family, cousins, relations, and next thing you know, the whole city's utilizing it, and the value proposition of it increases. So once that happens, once mainstream starts to accept it worldwide, that's where the fine balance of the two will meet, in my opinion.
Okay, I think that the definition of stablecoin is very different. So what Andrew is trying to say is that, hey, I'm going to bring the Bitcoin and buy a cup of coffee, or well, Bitcoin, I'm okay to accept it, man. But what if it's those lousy coins like alternate coins, right? So bring that alternate coin, ABC coin, to buy a cup of coffee, most people will not accept it. But if you look at it this way, if you have a certain medium or an exchange like Hambico and other exchanges in the market as the middle person, whatever bad coins or non-popular coins that you have goes through the exchange, convert into fiat, and pay it on the spot. I think that is something more feasible, and that's where a stable coin comes into the picture. So if the coin is stable enough, the exchange is happy enough to accept the coin, convert this into a certain currency, and then they pay it off. I think that would be a new definition of how we see stable coin in the future, and not like now, where I've the slide saying a Libra, and they want to be on top of Libra to be part of it. I don't really understand Korean, but I think that is not realistic, because Libra is not going to be coming true, just to be very frank. The only stable coin that we see that's moving well would be Tether, right? So we have to see how this whole movement is heading, whether it's going to be coming out of a won one, Canadian dollar one, or Singapore dollar stable coin. I think those are all, those will come true, but it depends on how the operator sees the usage of the stable coin. If it's using the example that I gave you, I think that would be okay. That would be a lot easier, and people can adopt and adapt to the new coin that we talk about happily, right? So I think it's, again, seeing the commercial value of the whole coin, and seeing how people are happily using it will definitely change how the blockchain scene is going to be like in the near future.
Do you think is it possible to the central bank, they can make their own like tether kind of?
Okay, still you have a banker here, right? So my not so diplomatic answer is I don't think the bank would be so happy to create that stable coin, because in my opinion, there's a very big conflict of interest, right? Why would they let other people print the money? Well, I'm the central bank, I could do a lot of different things as well. So again, it depends on how the regulation is going to move, and how we are going to work together to create a bigger ecosystem that is a little bit more powerful than some of the central banks, so that some of this concept can roll out readily, right? You think so?
I agree. No, I totally agree. I think it is a massive conflict of interest, and it's very difficult to go to the marketplace with your client base who's consuming your existing product. All of a sudden switching on a dime, I think it'd be a long time coming. However, there's always the ability for that to happen in the future. So as long as the foundation is set, the regulations are set, and the groundworks are ready to roll out, I think inevitably we all hope in this world that will happen. I think it'll take some time though.
질문한 거는 이제 스테이블 코인에 대해서 두 분 생각을 이제 여쭤봤는데요. 두 분 다 이제 스테이블 코인 같은 경우는 뭐 테더라든지 그런 그 그 활용도를 대해서 뭐 말씀을 해주셨고 앞으로 이제 규제나 이런 게 다 정리가 되면은 더 생태계를 확장하는 그 더 쓰임이 있는 그런 스테이블 코인이 생길 거고 그거는 중앙은행이나 이런 보다는 좀 더 커뮤니티가 더 많은 이제 그쪽에서 생겨날 가능성이 있다고 이제 두 분 다 말씀해 주셨습니다. 그러면 이상으로
아직 대표님 저희 아직 모르고 10분이 더 남았어요.
20분까지 할까요?
아직 정확하게 맞추셨는데요. 네, 그러면 지금까지 발표해주신 세 분 연사님들께 박수 부탁드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.